It's time, Cougar Nation. Cougar Tracks. The best season analysis with BYU insider Mitch Harper on KSL NewsRadio and on video every day on the YouTube page for KSL Sports.
Welcome into Cougar Tracks here on the KSL Sports YouTube and KSL NewsRadio, your legacy home of the Cougars. I am your BYU insider, Mitch Harper. It's a Thursday edition of the show. We're 2 days away until BYU, number 12 BYU, takes on the TCU Horned Frogs in a letter soup matchup between the Cougs and the Horned Frogs. And there's so many key storylines in this matchup, and that's where we start things off in the top story of the day.
The top story of the day. The biggest story in the world of BYU sports right here on Cougar Tracks.
You know the drill when we get to Thursday here on Cougar Tracks, because again, this show is daily, every single day. You can check out Cougar Tracks. But on Thursdays, we break down the initial player availability report that comes out every Wednesday night to kind of set the tone for who's in and who's out in the upcoming matchup. And for BYU, nothing too crazy. I think the most noteworthy piece on this availability report is defensive tackle Anisi Purcell. Purcell was out last week in the loss at Texas Tech. Purcell's been pretty productive for BYU this year. He's probable. He's expected to give it a go for the Cougars. Also of note, wide receiver Cody Hagan. He's questionable in this game. Cody Hagan I did see at practice this week, but questionable going into the matchup against the Horned Frogs. Most notable player listed on the Horned Frogs availability report, which only includes players who are out. It's running back Kavorian Barnes at the top of that availability report. He's the starting running back for TCU. He's been in and out of their lineup this season. He is out this week, so that's pretty significant. I think that takes a big dent into TCU's upset chances against BYU. Players who are out for BYU, safety Tommy Parasis, who continues to deal with a foot injury. Matthias Leach, a reserve safety who's going to be a good one down the road in future years for BYU. Running back Sione Moa and cornerback Marcus McKenzie. Circling back to Anisi Purcell, though, it is of note that getting Purcell back, because Jay Hill, defensive coordinator for the Cougars, did announce yesterday that Justin Kirkland, Oklahoma State transfer, he's going to redshirt for the remainder of this season. Keep in mind, he's only played 4 games, so he can redshirt, but he can return in the Big 12 championship game if BYU gets there, the college football playoff, or a bowl game. Those don't count towards the redshirt year. So we will see Kirkland again, but we're also going to see him in 2026. So that's a good thing for BYU going forward. Also on the redshirt front, because those decisions tend to happen when you get late in the season. Do you save a guy's year? Do you play him? That's kind of a thought process for coaches this time of the season. Ephraim Asiata, sophomore linebacker, he's going to redshirt. He's dealing with a hand injury. So Ephraim going to be sidelined the rest of this season for BYU, but he'll be back in 2026, as will Justin Kirkland. Now, a player who's definitely going to be in for BYU, and he's someone that this BYU team needs to play at a high level, it's quarterback Bear Bachmeier. And a big storyline this week for BYU heading into this matchup against TCU is, how does Bear Bachmeier respond after what was clearly his worst performance of the season in the loss at Texas Tech? And BYU offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick, he's optimistic that Bear is going to bounce back in a big way.
Yeah, he was really hard on himself. He felt like it was his fault, and I'm not surprised that he's a freshman. He finally had a bad game. It is what it is. He's played so well all year, and each week he's exceeded our expectations. And then this game, he had a tough game, just like all of us did, and me included. And he felt really bad. And I've just been trying to, let him know that it's a team game. We need all 11 guys to play their best, and our coaches, we all have to coach better. And I expect him to bounce back and play well this week.
I do too. I expect Bear to play a lot better this week. Keep in mind, BYU has only played 2 home games in the last 9 weeks. This has been a team that has lived on the road. So for them to be 8-1 is really impressive. And to do it with a true freshman quarterback, it's even more impressive. And look, Bear had a day where he looked like a true freshman, and it just so happened to be up against one of the best defensive fronts in college football. Texas Tech is a national champion, good team. People are sleeping on them still at number 6. If you actually watch that team, they are as legit as it gets in college football. But I expect good things from Bear Bachmeier. I think, TCU's got a pretty stout defense. They're 35th nationally in stopping the run this year. So TCU can stop the run. I just don't think they're going to be able to contain Bear Bachmeier's ability to run like Texas Tech did. Texas Tech completely removed that ability from BYU's offense. And when Bear didn't have that option, he got suffocated. Now, maybe there's a blueprint for teams to stop Bear Bachmeier, but I'd also like to think, too, that through the air, you're not going to have Chase Roberts drop passes. You're not going to have JoJo Phillips drop passes. I'd like to think that BYU is going to take care of the football in the cozy confines of LaVell Edwards Stadium. So I think Bear Bachmeier's due for a bounce back, and the guy has been pretty spot on when it comes to taking care of the football and his decision making. Still, at game number 10, only 4 interceptions this year. You can maybe say that pass that ended up being a fumble, the backwards pass, maybe that's a pick too. I mean, it was a fumble, but that was a poor decision. But he's trying to make a play. It's a blowout. You kind of excuse that. I think Bear bounces back. I don't know what that stat line looks like. It could still be a day where it's under 200 passing yards, but he puts up some good numbers on the ground, and he has a lot of success, and it's a balanced attack. Now, I want to see, though, BYU maybe increase the tempo at times. With Bear cemented as the starting quarterback, maybe increase that tempo. I thought BYU last week was a little bit too slow at times, where they were just trying to completely kill the clock to avoid Texas Tech from being on the field and try to shrink that game as much as possible. You still got to be aggressive. You still got to be on attack. And I thought Aaron Roderick even acknowledged it, that it wasn't the greatest day for him either. I think he has to have a bounce-back performance, too, against a TCU defense that, again, good, but nowhere near as good as Texas Tech. Texas Tech's elite. They're national championship good type of team. So Bear Bachmeier is going to be one to watch in this game, and I expect him to bounce back for the Cougars. I also think that LJ Martin's a big storyline in this game, too. What's the workload going to look like for LJ? He needs to be a guy. I was talking with Hans Olsen, BYU color analyst on the BYU Sports Network, and, of course, host on KSL Sports Zone, our sibling station, Hans and Scotty G, weekdays. I was on his show, and we were talking about how LJ needs 30 touches. He needs that for BYU to win ball games, because TCU is capable of pulling off the upset. If they take care of the football, they're going to be in position to maybe be hovering around in this game. What can help that cause, too, is LJ being able to get that big workload. And Aaron Roderick said that LJ is going to be good to go and came out of that Texas Tech game healthy and okay. But they need him to get a lot of touches. And I think the volume of touches that he gets will tell us a lot about where he is health-wise heading down to the stretch run. Because if you want to get to Arlington, you've got to have LJ getting 25 to 30 touches per game. That is at a minimum. So that's going to be something to watch as well. Let's take a break. We'll get to the defensive side around the corner with BYU linebacker Jack Kelly. I caught up with him after practice. You'll hear my conversation with Jack and a whole lot more here on Cougar Tracks on KSL News Radio, and it's powered by KSL Sports. Welcome back into Cougar Tracks here on the KSL Sports YouTube page. Every day, we're coming to you live with Cougar Tracks on KSL News Radio and KSL Sports YouTube. Daily BYU content in your podcast feeds. Appreciate you for always listening, watching the show every single day. Yesterday, BYU Basketball had signing day, and they officially signed 4 players to the class of 2026. BYU's 2026 recruiting class is ranked number 33 in the 24/7 Sports class of 2026 rankings. That's primarily for high school recruiting. That doesn't include transfers. So that will also involve Abdullah Ahmed, who doesn't have a star rating yet. It also doesn't include Will Openshaw, who's not in the 24/7 Sports database altogether. So number 33 class in 2026 for BYU in this four-man class. KJ Perry, number 1 JUCO recruit in the country. Dean Rueckert, number 78 overall prospect in the 24/7 Sports Composite. Abdullah Ahmed, a G League player from the Westchester Knicks. And then Will Openshaw, a Mission First prospect from Timpview High School. This was Kevin Young on these recruits, and they were written quotes from the press releases at BYU. KJ Perry, quote, KJ is a dynamic guard who can score it, create for his teammates, and bring real athleticism to our backcourt. We love his competitiveness, his confidence, and the edge he plays with every possession. He's going to make us better the moment he steps on campus, pushing our guards in practice, and then stepping in as a playmaker in our backcourt, end quote. That's on KJ Perry from Kevin Young. KJ Perry is explosive. You can't help but draw the comparisons to maybe a Ja Morant type of player. That's been tossed around on social media, and I think it's fair. When you watch him play, he is explosive. His athleticism is quite the sight to see. He's going to be real impressive in that backcourt for BYU, and he's expected to join during the winter semester for the Cougars and then redshirt the remainder of this year. Abdullah Ahmed, this was Kevin Young, quote, he's an elite rim protector and rebounder with great size, length, and skill. We love his defensive mindset, his ability to run the floor, and the energy he plays with around the basket. He's going to help anchor our defense, finish plays at the rim, and give us a real presence in the paint, along with skill that fits in great with our style of play, end quote. Yeah, I think Ahmed is an excellent fit because, again, he fills a glaring hole next year with Keba Keita. Now, you'll still have Xavier Staten, I would assume. Staten's, hasn't seen much time yet in the first 3 games of the season. Ahmed and Staten as your 2 front court guys, you like that a lot as Staten continues to develop in his basketball career. Dean Rueckert from Timpview High, big-time prospect, 4-star recruit, had a lot of interest from power conference programs. Coach Young said, quote, we're so excited to welcome Dean and his family to BYU. We've been able to build a great relationship with them and can't wait to see Dean in BYU Blue. He grew up here, and we are excited that his story can continue with Cougar Nation. He's a long, versatile wing who can really shoot the ball, put it on the floor, and guard multiple positions. His size, skill, and feel for the game fit perfectly with the way we want to play. Long, versatile athletes, that's what BYU wants. When you think about who could be the next Richie Saunders, there you go. Dean Rueckert is the proof of concept guy to possibly take that Richie Saunders role, take it by the horns, and run with it. That's Dean Rueckert. He's going to be joining coming up in April. That's the expectation when it comes to Dean Rueckert. BYU also signed Will Openshaw from Timpview High School, 6'10" prospect for the Cougars. And Openshaw, I caught up with him after he committed to BYU. And I think Openshaw is an intriguing player for BYU because he's going to be developmental. He's not in any of the recruiting services. It's a local guy with promise, development, that length, that athleticism. They can develop you into something. And with the development that Kevin Young has already shown with players in his program since he joined as the head coach, makes Will Openshaw, I think, an intriguing prospect going forward to see what BYU can turn him into. Kevin Young said, Will Openshaw fits everything that BYU is about. We are excited to get him in our locker room after his mission. He is a skilled, confident playmaker with a great feel for the game and a competitiveness that really stands out. He can impact winning in a lot of different ways on both ends of the floor and fits perfectly with how we want to play. We can't wait to get him in BYU Blue and watch him grow in our program. So that's BYU's 2026 recruiting class. You would expect that they're going to get 2 or 3 guys from the portal. And then, of course, depending on what happens with players that do have remaining eligibility, do they stay on board? We'll see how that goes. But BYU's got some nice pieces already for next year that are going to be part of the program for Kevin Young's program. But that was signing day for BYU Hoops. Obviously, they're going to still be waiting on Austin Gooseby who's going to make his decision. He rescheduled his commitment announcement. It's instead of November 14th, it's going to take place now on November 17th at 2 p.m. Mountain Time, 3 p.m. Central. Goosby's got his Final Four down to BYU, Texas, Baylor, Duke. A lot of people have said maybe Texas could be the landing spot for Goosby. BYU in the mix. So we'll see on Goosby. And that, if they can get him, you're talking about a top 20 prospect nationally that's going to boost the recruiting rankings for BYU in this 2026 cycle as well. But now we got to get back to the gridiron with
Big 12 picks. In the deepest conference in America, anything can happen. Mitch tries to tell you what will happen next. It's his Big 12 picks. Big 12 picks.
The chase to Arlington heats up for Big 12 football. So many different options on who's going to be in the Big 12 title game. I feel pretty confident Texas Tech's going to be there. Texas Tech's back in action this week. The number 6 Red Raiders host UCF at 1:30 p.m. on Fox. Of note on the availability report for the Red Raiders, linebacker Jacob Rodriguez, Heisman candidate. That's what Texas Tech is pushing. And defensive lineman Lee Hunter, they are questionable, but they're going up against UCF. They are going to roll. I don't sense any sort of letdown. I know it's the Big 12. Anything can happen. Texas Tech wins big, I think by 4 touchdowns. They're going to roll in that one. I'm curious to see, too, how Baron Morton looks because, again, he is severely banged up. Can he, just have a real productive day and showcase that high-powered offense that you think Texas Tech should be? We'll see how that goes for Tech, but I think they win big. Arizona at number 25, Cincinnati, 10 a.m. on FS1. Very intrigued by this one. If Cincinnati wins, you would assuming BYU wins, it's going to be a top 25 matchup in Cincy next week between the Cougs and the Bearcats. But you know what? I think Arizona goes in and pulls the upset. I think Arizona on the road at Cincinnati. Running back Evan Pryor is questionable. I'm going to go with the Wildcats to pull off the upset against Cincinnati and potentially derail a top 25 clash between BYU and Cincy. K-State at Oklahoma State. Give me K-State with ease. They're going to roll through the Pokes. West Virginia at Arizona State. ASU wide receiver Jordan Tyson remains out. West Virginia's on a 2-game win streak, but ASU, I think they take care of business comfortably. I think Arizona State wins this game. Jeff Sims, it was a run-heavy attack 2 weeks ago in Ames where they win at Iowa State. I think Jeff Sims ran the ball 28 times. I'll go with ASU again to get it done without Sam Leavitt and Jeff Sims as the QB1. Give me the Sun Devils over the Mountaineers, who, credit to Rich Rod and West Virginia, they're showing a lot more fight than I was expecting down the stretch run. And then finally, number 13, Utah at Baylor, 5 p.m. on ESPN2. And just a side note to this game, Mack Rhodes, the Baylor AD, he has taken a leave of absence from his role as Baylor's AD. He's no longer the College Football Playoff Committee chairman. The Big 12 has recommended Utah AD Mark Harlan to step in that spot. Now, Harlan has previous experience with the College Football Playoff Committee, so it would make sense to give him the nod, but you can only imagine the conspiracy theories that people both nationally and locally are going to have with that recommendation from the Big 12. Mark Harlan giving the nod to BYU? Utah, I don't think he gets involved in the room when Utah gets brought up, but the Utes are right there in striking distance. So we'll see how that goes. I think on the field on Saturday, Utah cruises past Baylor. I think Baylor I don't trust their defense at all. I think Utah wins by 2 touchdowns in this game. It was funny to see the availability report for Utah this week. None to report. It's November 13th. I know you're coming off a bye, but no one's banged up. No one. Anyway, I'll go with the Utes to get it done and to continue their win streak. They've been playing at a high level since their loss to BYU back on October 18th. Let's take our final timeout. You'll hear from BYU linebacker Jack Kelly next here on Cougar Tracks, and it's powered by KSL Sports. Welcome back into Cougar Tracks here on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports YouTube page. Mitch Harper with you. Cougs getting ready to take on the TCU Horned Frogs Saturday night, 8:15 p.m. Late night kickoff from LES. Pregame will probably start around 7:15 on KSL News Radio. That's because BYU Basketball will play UConn earlier in the day. We'll have Cougar Sports Saturday getting the massive day of coverage on KSL News Radio, started from noon to 3, and then we'll toss it over to network coverage of BYU and UConn, and then BYU football against TCU in the nightcap from Provo. And I had the chance to catch up with BYU linebacker Jack Kelly, fresh off a 2-sack performance against Texas Tech a week ago. How is he and this defense looking to respond after a tough loss, their first of the season, as they gear up for the TCU Horned Frogs?
BYU football getting ready to take on the TCU Horned Frogs this weekend, and here now with BYU linebacker Jack Kelly. And Jack just got done talking with Coach Hill, and he said defense today maybe one of the best practices he's seen from you guys since he's been here. How would you describe what practice was like today?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it was our best one as well. People were just making plays. We were doing our assignment, playing with effort. I think that's the biggest thing, is just the amount of effort that was shown today. Finishing every play with 11 hats around the ball. It was just a fly-around type of day, make plays, and everyone playing for each other.
What's inspiring that? Is it just so you just chalk that up to the loss, or was there something else that's kind of inspiring that intensity in practice today?
No, I think it's just really being grateful and humble for where we're at. We are 8-1. We're in a great spot. We have more opportunities ahead, and we can't let any of those opportunities pass us up by letting a day of practice slip or anything like that. So we really just came out here, attacked it, and tried to make it our best day.
Did you or the rest of the team pay any attention to the playoff rankings this week?
No, not really. It is what it is. If we don't take care of these next 3 games, well, first of all, this week, but if we don't take care of these weeks, then those rankings aren't going to matter at the end of the season. So we're really just focused on now, today, and getting better today.
Coming out of the Texas Tech game, the defense, had moments where you guys were really playing at a high level. But what were areas that, when you sized up the film and dove into it, that you feel like are areas to correct going forward?
I think just making mistakes, but then using the effort to correct those mistakes. So maybe a D-line messed up something and then I didn't feel it, or I messed something up and they didn't feel it. So it's really just playing off of each other and playing with effort, I think, is going to be the biggest thing to fill in those mistakes, because they're going to happen every game. So we have to make sure we're doing it to the best of our ability.
What are your impressions of this TCU offense? I know you weren't part of the BYU program 2 years ago when BYU last played TCU, but your impressions of this offense and Josh Hoover at quarterback?
Yeah, they got a great quarterback. The O-line's solid. Great running backs, great receivers. They got talent everywhere, so it's going to be a good challenge for us. I think they're going to come out. They're a high-powered offense. They're going to throw the ball a lot. But then when they do run the ball, they got those great backs and O-line. So it's going to be a good challenge for us, but it's an exciting one as well.
Was it last week? Coach Hill kind of touched on this, that he felt like you and this whole linebacker unit were healthier than maybe you guys have been in a month. Would you agree with that sentiment? I mean, the stats probably don't lie. You guys each all had sacks, the starters, but how would you kind of assess that?
Yeah, I'd say it was definitely our healthiest week. The weeks prior, me and Zay were banged up and maybe not playing to the best of our abilities. So last week, he was definitely the best we felt since the start of the season, and made some plays, so hopefully we can continue that this week.
How nice is it, though, coming back from a loss, that you're returning home? Because last year, I mean, it sounds so simple, but last year you guys lost the game at home, then went on the road, just to get back to home, because it's been a while since you guys played at LES.
Yeah, I think Doc Main was telling me today like 2 of our last 7 games or something like that has been at home. So it's going to be great to get back in front of Cougar Nation, get back in the routine of being at home, and just go out there and make plays in front of our fans and then do it for each other.
How do you guys feel like you've been, playing? Would you feel like there was progress made defensively, despite how that game played out against Texas Tech? Like, if so, where were areas you felt like were points of success for this defense?
Yeah, I think so for sure. We got better in stopping the run. Obviously, they still broke some runs, but overall it was better. I think we got better in pass coverage and blitzing. So it's kind of like an overall. I feel like we got better. Obviously, there's going to be improvements. We want to continue to improve each and every day, but there was a lot of positives.
I know you guys are just focused on this one game, but just how motivated is this group to try and get to Arlington and get to that Big 12 championship game and have a chance, because last year you guys were so close?
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants to be there. That's one of our goals for sure. But like you said, we got to focus on this week. We got to make sure that we win this game and take it day by day. Don't get too far ahead, because that's when you're going to let something slip on your day-to-day basis, and that's going to show up in games.
How much are you appreciating and enjoying the final ride in college football? This is your senior year. How much are you enjoying this?
I've been loving it. The brotherhood, I mean, you just look on it and see how much fun we're having, how much these people love me and I love them. It's awesome. And then in front of this amazing fan base, it's been phenomenal, and nothing short of just exceptional, honestly.
To follow up on that, just this BYU experience, I'm curious if you go back to when you arrived here in the winter of 2024 to now, like, has it exceeded your expectations? Like, just how this BYU experience has been to this point?
Yeah, for sure. I didn't really know much of what to expect coming in. I didn't really know too many people that were on BYU at the time, so it's definitely exceeded my expectations, just the love and the brotherhood that's here. The coaches do a phenomenal job at setting the culture and making sure we buy into that. And so everyone that they bring in here is really loving and your brother, so it's just like really a big family, and you just enjoy every day. It's not like coming in, oh, I have to practice. It's like I get to practice with these guys. We get to have fun. We get to have this juice together. It's awesome.
Last thing for you, Jack, and appreciate the time. How would you describe the feeling when you know you've got a path to the quarterback to getting a sack? Last week you had 2. Just how would you describe that moment, that feeling?
I think it's second to none for me. Obviously, hopefully you get a strip sack in there as well. But once you see it and your move works, it's just like, I need to get him down. You can't get juked, because a lot of these quarterbacks are excellent at breaking the pocket and escaping. So it's really just run full speed, but don't get juked. But the feeling is second to none. It's just awesome, and you love to make plays for this team.
And that's BYU linebacker Jack Kelly. Appreciate him for spending some time with me here on Cougar Tracks. And that's going to do it for this edition of the show. We will be back tomorrow with score predictions for BYU football against TCU and BYU basketball against UConn. Saw AJ DiBonsa dropped his Players Tribune article in preparation for his return back to Brockton, Massachusetts. So we'll unpack all of that on the show and a whole lot more tomorrow on a Friday edition of the program coming up tomorrow here on Cougar Tracks, and it's powered by KSLSports.com.